We all have an emptiness deep down inside, a longing to be connected, to be a part of something. Deep down in our souls, we all feel it. We remember a time when all was connected. Deep inside of this, our heart feels empty. Right at the moment when hope feels lost, a small glimpse of light pierces through the darkness. So we chase after it.
Have you ever felt alone? Today we're going to be talking about a guy who felt alone most of his life, but what he did was he didn't hold on to being alone and didn't let that affect him later in life. Today we're going to be talking about the life of a 17-year-old guy, the first time we meet him, named Joseph. If you want to read along, I'm not going to read it today, but at home, if you want to get home and read this story, it's found in Genesis chapter 37 through 50. Joseph lived in the land of Canaan, and he had 10 half-brothers. He also had one full-blooded brother and at least one half-sister. Rachel was his mom, and he was her firstborn. Jacob was the dad, and this was the 11th son of his. Out of all the boys, Joseph was preferred by his dad. He was daddy's boy. And one day he showed up, the dad did, to Joseph and gave him this really amazing coat. The problem was he showed up with just one coat and not 11 for the others. And so the brothers got really mad. Joseph also had this gift. He had this gift of interpreting dreams. And it was great when he was interpreting them until he started getting dreams that also ticked off his brothers. It was dreams like bales of hay bowing before him, and the stars and the moon and the sun were bowing towards Joseph. And so obviously this was really getting to the brothers. And so the brothers were so jealous, they started to plot about how they were going to kill him. They started talking, and one of the brothers, Reuben, just wasn't easy about killing Joseph. And so he started to put a different plan in place and said, hey, why don't we just throw him into a pit, like a well. In Israel, there are these cisterns wells, and they're very deep. They're like caves. And why don't we throw him in there? And Reuben's main aim was then when the brothers had gone, he would rescue him and he'd be okay. But things changed. The brothers did go with this plan. They got him and they threw him into the pit. And I'm sure they ruffled him up before he got there. And he is in the pit, and this pit is wet. It's very humid. It's dark. And he's all alone. But as he's in the pit, he has to change his mindset. With what he's going through right there and then, is he there where he's just going to die? Or is he going to take that experience so that it can impact others in the future? His mindset had to be right. He knew he shouldn't be there. His family had turned against him. He was feeling rejected and lonely. And he's there alone. And he's thinking, how am I going to get out of here? And sometimes the way out is completely different from what we thought it would be. Joseph is in this pit, and his brothers are on his way back to the village, and the brothers see an opportunity. Not only have they tried to kill Joseph, but they're now going to make some money off of him. The the brothers get greedy, and they saw an Egyptian caravan of people going through town, and they go up to them and say, "Hey, are you looking for slaves?" You see, they knew that they could sell Joseph, tell him where he was, and they could make some money. And so they tell him where he is, and they go to this pit, and they shout down to Joseph and says, "Hey, are you down there?" And Joseph's like, "Oh, this is the way out." But what was about to happen was bad. He thought there was good news coming, and as they started to lower the rope down into the pit, he grabs a hold. They feel a tug. They start to lift him up. And then he realized it was the Egyptians. The good news was he was rescued. The bad news, he was now going to be a slave in Egypt. Now, I don't know if you know anything about early Bible, but the Egyptians and the Israelites did not get on. And coming out of that pit, he knew that life was about to change, and it could get worse than being in the pit. The Egyptians hated the Israelites back then. Now he's going to have to deal with being alone in a completely different culture. The culture was completely different than what he had been brought up to. And he's left with now a predicament of not only being all alone, but how does he deal with this culture? Reminded me of a story in the Bible of 3 other radical young men. It's in Daniel 3. King Nebuchadnezzar had built this huge idol, and he had told all the folks in the country that when you hear the music playing, you're to bow to this idol. So everyone started to bow, but 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they stood their ground. They weren't going to bow to the culture of what was happening at that time. So Nebuchadnezzar gets the 3 and he says, "Okay, turn the furnace up. We are going to raise the heat. We're going to show these 3 a lesson. We're going to show them that their God is not God, that our God is God." They take the 3 and they throw them in, and they start looking, and they can't believe what they're seeing, because these 3 should have been ash all of a sudden. But they look, and there's not 3, there's now 4. There's now an angel in there. Some say it's the Son of God, but there is someone in there protecting those 3. Nebuchadnezzar is blown away. He says, "Get them out, get them out." They come out not smelling of smoke or anything singed, nothing. They are out. And I could just imagine them going, "All right, now it just got serious. Our God saved us." What happens next is Nebuchadnezzar turns to the whole country and says, "Hey, this God that they're following, we're all going to follow." And he actually told them, "If you don't, we're going to rip limb for limb off your body." I mean, talk about peer pressure. But what happened right there was a huge revival in that country, because 3 men stood against the culture. Now, I'm going to say something that may surprise you. You can't go against the culture. You can't be different. You can't make things happen. You can't change your workplace or your school. You can't break chains of addiction in your life. You can't impact people around you. You can't be a light in a dark place. You just can't. Just like those three, if they'd have walked in there without God, they would have been ash. You see, you can't do any of that on your own. When you've got God with you, you then can go against the culture. You can live differently. You can make things happen. You can see change broken in your life. You can impact people at your school or at your work or in your neighborhood. You can be a light in a dark place. But when you're on your own, you can't. You are sunk. The only way you can do that is if you've got God with you. Here's the deal. You're not meant to blend into the culture. You are meant to change it. There's a difference. And you know, I'll be honest with you. If you were here Friday night, you're probably saying, Andy, you're preaching exactly the same message as Friday night. Yes. You're getting the replay version. But here's the deal. When I was preparing this, and we're going to be dealing with some pretty hard topics, I really felt God saying, this isn't just for the young. This message isn't for the young generation. The adults need to hear this. And as these guys came out of the furnace and they saw the culture change, they had to make a stand to see that change. Don't blend into the culture. Change it. Your decisions matter when God's telling you what to do. What you watch, how you talk, who you hang around. Don't blend into the culture. You've got to change it. And sometimes you have to make changes in your life so that you know that when you're walking into an area with God, He would be happy. He would be pleased at what is going on. So let's get back to Joseph. He's been in the pit. He's now been rescued. He's now a slave. He's a slave for the bodyguard of Pharaoh. And he becomes very successful at it. He does what his masters tell him to do. He was young, like I said earlier, 17. So he was fit and strong. And we also find out he was good looking. Because what happens in the time as he's serving this master's home, the bodyguard's wife starts hitting on him and starts trying to lure him to get romantic with him and her together in ways they shouldn't. Now, here's the deal. If you are serving a bodyguard to Pharaoh, like, you don't want to go there anyway. You know what I'm saying? But not only that, he knew how to serve God. And he knew that doing that with this woman would wreck his life forever. So he says, no, I'm not doing it. So the wife turns on Joseph. She starts telling everyone that he has slept with her and that they've been having an affair. And back in those days, if anyone did something against a woman, you really got punished. And here's Joseph now trying to be the good, godly man. And he's now convicted of adultery, and he is now sent to prison. He's now in a similar situation as the pit. He got in the pit because of rejection from his family. But now he's in prison. But there's an interesting scripture that I want to bring your attention to in Genesis 40, verse 20 and 21. And Joseph's master took him and put him into prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. And he was there in prison. Verse 21. But the Lord God was with Joseph. He showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Now, Joseph is in prison. He's there and he is bound. He can't go anywhere. The chains and the ropes have got him to where he can't do anything. He's actually confined, which means no one's around him. He's alone again. Rejected, accused, beaten, left alone. Feeling like no one's got his back. I know that today there are people here exactly like that. You feel like there's no way out. You feel like, I can't take any more. This prison that you're in is taking you out. For some of you, you're ready to throw in the towel. Like, literally throw in the towel. Suicide is the second leading cause of death between the ages of 10 and 24. More teenagers and young adults die from suicide from more than cancer, heart disease, AIDS, birth defects, strokes, influenza, pneumonia, and chronic lung disease. Combined in 1 year, suicide takes more people out than all of them together. Every day in this nation, 3,000 people attempt to commit suicide in the grades of 9 to 12. 3,000 kids. Last year alone, there was over 45,000 people killed by suicide. You may be thinking, well, this is a young person's problem. If you just watch the news in the last few years, you hear of guys like Robin Williams and Kate Spade, and Anthony Bourdain, and all these other guys. Here's a crazy stat. The rate of suicide is highest among white, male, middle-aged men. We always think it's a youth problem. 7 to 10 suicides in 2016 were white males. 7 out of 10. Why am I talking about this? Because it's a topic that the church, and I'm not about this church, I'm about church as a whole, don't talk about. Mental illness and depression and anxiety that drives people to that brink. It's the silent killer. It's as though we get scared. We don't want to talk about it. And so as I was preparing this message, I felt God really challenged me and say, listen, Andy, you have got to give some practical things to the folks that are listening, not just at Mission Peoria, but today. So I want to give some steps. I want to give some direction for you. If you're ever at that brink of going over the edge, of throwing in the towel, of saying, I'm done. If you're there or you're close to there, first thing I advise is that you call the suicide hotline number. Now you may be saying, Andy, well, I want to reach out to the pastor. I want to reach out to the youth pastor. If you're feeling that at 3 a.m, you're not going to get them. You may, but that's the chance you're taking. And if you're not thinking right at that time, you need to know a definite place you can go where there's a professional who can guide you through at least that night until you can get to a youth pastor or a counselor. There are professionals on the other end of the phone that can help you get at least off the edge and to some help. The number, it's 1-800-273-8255. You can also text. Young people, we know sometimes you don't like calling. That's okay. You can text. Just text HELP to 741-741. So that's a practical way to at least help you when you're on that edge. Here's some other steps that I want you to know about. No emotion lasts forever. Even though you feel it, every emotion, including depression, does not last forever. And so when you're feeling depressed or have the anxiety or are ready to jump or whatever you're doing, remember this: don't make a permanent choice on a temporary feeling. Don't do it. Never make a major decision when you're feeling depressed. Instead, you've got to share it with someone. And it may be that first initial person you talk to is someone on the 1-800 number. But then you need to connect with someone. Galatians 6:2, it says you've got to bear one another's burdens. You've got to be available, people. If people call you, make sure you're listening. Here's another one. When you are feeling depressed, you need to realize that you are not thinking straight or logical. So don't make decisions. Here's the other thing. If you're in that state, you've got to try and remember that your family and friends will miss you. Because when you're in that state, you think, they won't miss me. They don't need me around. They do. Here's another thought. You were meant to live for so much more. You may feel that you're at the lowest time in your life, but God has got so much more for you. And if you're ever in that moment, remember those words that God has so much more for you. Here's another thought. Don't live life alone. Don't live life alone. Like I said earlier, depression is a silent killer, and it will tell you you don't need anyone around you. And you'll go silent and undercover and not tell people how you're feeling. You need to. You need to get into a relationship. God created us to live in community. It may be a family member or a friend. It may be a small group. It may be a serving group at somewhere here or at the Dream Center. But find someone in that group that you can talk to and let them help you. Maybe get in touch with a counselor or a pastor or a youth pastor. And if someone does tell you that they're struggling, especially with suicide, take them serious. Take them serious and then help them get help. It's crucial. Psalm 139 is my favorite chapter of the Bible. And when you read it, it talks about how God created us. He knit us together in our mom's womb. How we are not an afterthought. How you were created not just to survive, but to thrive in life. You see, God loves you, but not just loves you, He likes you. That statement right there could change your whole relationship with Jesus. He just doesn't love you, He likes you. I have 3 incredible kids. Some of you seeing them running around the church sometimes may not think that, but they are. They're incredible. And my oldest is 20, Ethan. He was actually drumming today. And in fact, just giving credit where credit's due, he's the marketing guy for the Dream Center now. And he also is one of the creative geniuses with me. I don't want to give him too much credit, you know what I'm saying? For everything you see here, the screens, all the banners, all the marketing, also at the Dream Center, anything you see on social media, he is the guy behind that. And yeah, let's give it up for him. But Ethan is a born leader. If you ever talk to him, he's very passionate. Sometimes he can get too passionate in your face. I'm like, in your face, you're like, okay, calm down, Ethan. Like, he gets really passionate. He's focused. When he's focused, he goes after it. He's also probably one of the best drummers in the world, and I don't care about saying that. He really is. But with Ethan, I love him. But I don't just love him, I like being with him. Even when we were at Wrigley Field a week last Friday and we saw the Cubs get beat 18-5 to the Cardinals. Oh, man. That I'm telling you, that was a rough day at Wrigley Field. That was a rough day. But we went up there, and I went up there with him. It was the day before. It was the Friday before Mission Peoria started on the Monday, and people were like, "You're crazy. Why are you going there?" I said, "I just need a break. We've been planning this thing for months." So me and Ethan got tickets. Someone gave us some tickets, and we went up. And I went up with him, and we just hung out. We got to know each other even more. We started dreaming about Mission Peoria for next year. But I was with him not just because I love him, because I like being with him. Then there's Clay. Clay also is on the band. He plays electric guitar over here. Most of you, most of you thought he had red hair until last week and he dyed it black. So you're probably wondering, like, who's the new guitarist? No, it's Clay. He is sweet and caring. He's funny. He's got really weird friends. And they're at our house all the time. I baptized one of them today, Kyron. He's really weird, but that's fine. That's it. He's he also sees the best in anyone he meets. He also is on the janitorial staff here, and he cleans this place with Michael and a bunch of the other amazing guys all over this place. That's his heart. Then there's Joy. Joy's 13. She's never going to get married for at least 20, 30 years. She's loving and caring, compassionate. She loves being down at Taft Homes and other areas. She's the one I watched the cooking shows with. And we were so mad because this week was Shark Week and we couldn't watch it because of Mission Purist. So we've got like hours of stuff to watch this week. She's the person I sit down with. I'm saying all of that because I don't just love my kids, I like them. I like being with them. I like finding out what's going on in their life. And that's just like God. He just doesn't love you. He likes you. He wants to find out what's going on. He wants to help you. He wants to direct you. So there's Joseph. He's now in prison. He's been in the pit. He's now in prison. And things are about to change. Joseph now at this point is 30 years of age. Half of his life is already gone. And he really doesn't see any light in the future. He's in prison. But what God's about to do in the second half of his life is about to blow his mind. And what's about to happen is the cycle is about to end. The cycle is about to stop. Do you hear me? The cycle is about to stop. There's people here that are looking for that breakthrough. For some of you, you're saying, I'm past it. God can't use me. But if you look at this scripture, this is happening when he's 30. The next half of his life is before him. He doesn't know what's about to happen, but the cycle is about to stop. God rolls back the darkness of his past, but Joseph now has to step into this future. But he's got to choose to step into the future. Now, you remember at the beginning, I told you that he got into trouble because of these dreams he was having. And while he's in prison, all these different workers of the palace keep coming and asking him about their dreams. And he's interpreting them. And he's good at it. To the point where Pharaoh hears about it. It gets Pharaoh's attention. And he starts interpreting Pharaoh's dreams. And so Pharaoh decides to do something absolutely crazy. He gets him out of prison and he starts giving him responsibility. He turns to him and says, I'm going to put you in charge of all the finance and all the commerce and the trade for the nation. God gives him the responsibility of finance. Here's the crazy thing. Joseph has no training in this whatsoever. We don't read anywhere in Scripture that he did finance or trade or commerce. He does that for a while, and then Pharaoh then comes to him and says, okay, you are now going to be the prince of Egypt. Let me tell you something. He's not from Egypt. He's an Israelite. Now, this is me just studying this a little bit, and I'm okay if take correction, that's fine if this is wrong. But don't you find it amazing that he was given the responsibility of finance, and he looked after that so well that he was also then given a leadership role over the country? I know there's a lot of you here that are always wanting to be a leader, wanting to do things at the church. But perhaps sometimes God's waiting for you to get your finances in order and under control before he can give you the leadership that you're wanting. It's just a thought. Just a thought. It went really quiet, so I'll get back to Joseph really quick. He's now the prince of Egypt. And I think he's having a bit of trouble with it. You see, Joseph now has got to step into something he's not familiar with. He's familiar with the pit, he's familiar with the prison, but he is not familiar with a palace. He's got to step into something he's not used to whatsoever. And today I feel that God's going to be talking to you a little bit about you guys stepping into things that you are not familiar with, but God wants to bless you through it. There may be times just in this message, your heart's beating, you're thinking, God, you're speaking to me right now because you know there's leaps of faith that you have got to take. He may be challenging you to do something to break some of the cycles so that you can step from your comfort zone into a God zone. You see, one fear turns into another fear for Joseph. He goes from fear of hurt and rejection and abuse to now the fear of opportunity. And that's hard when all you've been used to is bad stuff happening to you. You see, better doesn't feel good when you feel that you're going to lose it after you get it. Joseph's been there. See, Pharaoh gives Joseph a blessing and a curse. And it was called chance. A chance can go one way or the other. This is his one shot. He's been used to the pit and he's been used to prison, but now he's in the palace and he has this one shot. I could just imagine him thinking, I've been in the prison for so long that this palace feels weird. And he may just want to go back. But Pharaoh calls him in and he starts to dress him like the prince of Egypt. He gives him a ring and he gets a cloak on him and they take some rope and they wrap it around his waist. And they're treating him like the prince of Egypt. And he has to step into this now. Even though Joseph felt alone in the pit and in the prison, he's still feeling alone here. But the difference is God has been leading him all the way for this moment. God was with him. And if you read on, just a few chapters on, you see his family appearing at the palace. The family who tried to kill him. And the dream comes true because they now are bowing in front of him. They don't know it's him, but they are now bowing in front of him. And all these years, he felt alone. But he wasn't. God was with him all the way to the palace. For you, you may relate to the Joseph in the pit. You thought you could trust friends and family, and then something happens. And you were in this pit and you just couldn't climb out. You've been dealing with rejection, feeling unloved and not cared for. Whether that's from your parents or family members or friends. And this seed of rejection has got in you. And it's spreading. But the only person who can take that seed out is Jesus. He can come in and he can say, I don't just love you, I like you. I want to be with you. I want to help you in life. Or you may be in that prison, chained up, bound up, fighting with things like depression and anxiety or oppression. You may even be on that edge of suicide. But even in those times, I want you to know that God is tapping you on that shoulder. And he's saying, you were made for more than this. You were made for more than the prison. He's saying, I haven't finished writing your story yet. I haven't finished taking you where I want you to go. He's saying, don't take that opportunity away from me. God's saying, I haven't finished writing the story, so don't take that opportunity away from me. Joseph's life didn't really take off until the second part of his life. God's not done with you yet. You're not designed to just eke your way through life, get up, go to work, watch TV at night, go to sleep, and do it the next day. God has a purpose and a plan for you. Or you may be one that's scared of the palace. Your fear is taking the next step into the unknown. The fear of God calling you into something and you feel like you're not ready for it. It wasn't even on your radar. But God's calling you to do something. He's wanting you to look at your future in a completely different perspective. He's wanting to break that cycle so that you can step into something new. For some here, that might be doing something completely different at work or with your lifestyle. It may be something completely different that you need to do at school. It may be that you need to do something, young people, like ACE teams. where you can lay everything down for a year so that God can work on your life and you can impact not only others, but God will impact you at the same time. I just want to pause here. Today is the last day for the ACE teams. They have been going for nearly a year, and today is their graduation this afternoon. I would like the guys just to stand. ACE teamers, just stand. Let's give it up for these guys. They've done an amazing job. Amazing. This afternoon at 2:30, they are going to be, we're going to do a bit of a graduation. And if you just want to come and encourage them, we're going to be at the Dream Center downstairs in the basement, the auditorium there. So come and support them at 2:30. They've done amazing. But you may be in this room right now seeing these 5 young people stand. I know you won't mind me saying this, but Abijah was the last person to sign up last year. ACE teams was due to start the following Monday, and Abijah saw a social media post that I put saying, "Here we go, ACE teams is about to start." God stirred his heart. He dropped his job, got out of the apartment he was in, sold his cars, did whatever he had to do, and came on ACE teams. He dropped everything. And young people, you may be here and there's something stirring in you and saying, "Man, I need to do that." You've got a few months, about a month or so, to get everything together. ACE teams is starting. You don't want to miss it this next year. But it may be that you are going to have to step into the palace and into something new like ACE teams or an online course or go to Bible college or whatever it is. You know, earlier you saw the video of the ropes coming together, and we've got the ropes here. We wanted this week at Mission Peoria to try and show kids that they weren't alone. And there was a theme. The whole week was called Not Alone. And each night we actually showed a separate video from what you saw, and it was an individual running from different parts of the area with this rope, and they were on their own. But on the last night, we showed the one that you saw earlier, where when they got to this one location, they weren't on their own. They were running to this stake. This stake represented Jesus. They were running towards Jesus, but when they got to Jesus, and they anchored to Jesus and they stepped back, they saw others around. Jesus, not only they connected to him, but they now connected with other young people. And throughout this world, there's a movement going on with young people and adults that as they get to Jesus, they step back and they understand that they're not alone. This morning you have heard some hard-hitting stuff because you may have felt alone. You may have felt alone in the pit or in prison or even in some of the decisions in the palace. But I don't want you to feel alone. So here's what we're going to do. Sarah's going to just sing a song for us. And if we can just bow in prayer for a minute. If God's been stirring at your heart this morning, saying, "Andy, I've related to so much of what you've talked about rejection from family and friends, or being in a prison of depression, there's chains around me, I can't loose them," even thoughts of suicide. Or you may be one of those that is scared stiff of the future. You're in the palace and you're saying, "God, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm about to step into the next half of my life, and I need you. I need to know that you are with me. If that's you, I want you to get up out of your seat, and I just want you to pick up the rope and hold it. The ropes are all up the aisles. I just want you to stand and hold the rope. And as you do that, you're going to notice something. Others are picking up the rope as well. So as Sarah sings this song, I just want you to take a step. Come into the aisles, pick up the rope, and just hold it there.
When I walk through deep waters, I know that you will be with me. When I'm standing in the fire, I know that you will overcome. Through the valley of the shadows, I will not fear. I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me. I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me. In the midst of deep sorrow, I see your light is breaking through. The dark of night will not overtake me, 'cause I am pressing into you. And Lord, you fight my every battle, and I will not fear. I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me. I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me. You amaze me, redeem me. You call me as your own. You amaze me, redeem me. You call me as your own. You amaze me, redeem me. You call me as your own. You amaze me, redeem me. You call me as your own. 'Cause you're my strength, you're my defender. 'Cause you're my refuge in the storm. Through these trials, you've always been faithful. 'Cause you bring healing to my soul, and I am not alone. Yes, I am not alone. And you will go before me, and you will never leave me.
that promise. That we're not alone, that you are with us, that you love us and you like us. So God, I pray for everyone who is standing here with the ropes, that they understand that the ropes are anchored to Jesus, but they're also connected to other people who are connected to Jesus. God, we understand that life was never to be lived alone. God, I pray that we get that today. We can hold on to that promise that you will never, ever, ever leave us. That you're still writing our stories. That you have a plan for each and every one of us. God, I thank you for that promise. Amen. Amen. Just want to give something practical out. And up on the boards, for anyone, this is for anyone, not just for people who have come on the roads today, but we've created these rope bracelets that you can take away with you. For when you're in that time of need, when you're ready to throw in the towel, you can look down at your wrist or on a chain or wherever you put it and understand that you are not alone. That you're anchored to Jesus, but also there are others that are going through what you're going through, and they are cheering you on, and this movement is going throughout this area and throughout this world. But when you're at that time when you're ready to throw in the towel and you see the red bracelet, you understand you are not alone, that God is with you. In addition to that, there's been a series on Netflix called 13 Reasons Why. I do not recommend you watch it at all. It's a story of young people and they see no way out, and it's all built around suicide. The reason why I'm mentioning that is perhaps you've watched that show, or you know someone who has watched that show, or someone who is battling with suicide. We have created 13 reasons why there's hope. And I won't list them all, but on here it's got everything from God is in control, God isn't done writing your story, God created you for purpose and a purpose. There's 13 things on here like promises that you need to grab a hold of. Also on here is the suicide hotline. So if you're reading this, you're like, I just need to talk to someone, call it. So they will be on the prayer banners as well. And we're going to end a little different, if that's okay. For the last number of years at Mission Peoria, there had been a young girl who had been a part of it. This was her favorite week of the year. She's from Northwoods Church. A couple of months ago, she was actually on her way to church. She served on the worship team. She was actually going to be an intern. And on the way to church, a truck hit her head on and she was killed instantly. She'd done Mission Peoria for many, many years. And I've been talking and working with the dad and the mom and just trying to help them through this time. And we did something that no one knew about. artist, and we wanted to create an image where there was different people within one face. So it was like not alone, there's different people creating this one face. And then this happened with Kennedy, and so we asked this local artist, actually my nephew, if he would incorporate her eyes and her lips into this. Because there were a lot of people at Mission Peoria who knew her. We wanted to honor her life. And so for the week, the kids had no idea that the face that was all over the place, if we can show it, was Kennedy's eyes and lips. I talked to the parents on Friday. They were absolutely blown away. They couldn't believe that we had done that. And I said, we're not doing it for credit of what we're doing. We want to honor her. We want to honor her friends that knew that this was going to be a hard Mission Peoria, but actually she was with us all the way through it. They didn't know it until I shared it Friday night. I wanted to get the okay from the parents. I said to the kids on Friday night, I hate to tell you this, but where she's at right now, she's not going to want to come back. And she was an amazing worship leader. In fact, the highlight for her at Mission Peoria was when the last message was preached, I would preach, and then we would create a party, a praise and worship party where she could just go after God in worship. And I said to the kids, we're going to do that right now on Friday night. We're going to imagine Kennedy is here, jumping around with us. She'll be singing like crazy with us. And guess what? We're going to do that right now. We're going to do that right now. You may be feeling like you're in the pit. You may be feeling like you're in the prison, or you may be feeling like there's something about to happen in the palace, but it's always best to praise through it. When you're in the pit or the prison or the palace, you need to praise your way out of where you're at. And so that's what we're going to do right now. If everyone can stand, if you want to come forward, you can. We're going to go out singing and shouting for Jesus, if that's okay. If not, so if that's what we're going to do anyway, the band are going to take it, and Sam will dismiss you after that.